Hey, MJ friends, welcome to the It's All for Love podcast. I'm your host, Cheryl Mazza, the Healing Dancer. And this podcast is all about Michael Jackson and how he continues to inspire love in the world and inspires us to be our best selves. In this episode, I am talking to Andrea from Kentucky. Andrea tells us how Michael taught her to be authentic Andrea and how we are all connected. We discuss how Andrea became more caring, generous, and giving of self because of Michael and following his example. We also talk some spiritual talk on Michael and how his energy is ever so present in the world, still to this day. I hope that you enjoy this episode with Andrea and getting to know her. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure that you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Feel free to leave a comment and let me know how you like the episode. If you are listening on other podcast platforms like Apple, Spotify, Amazon, etc., please make sure to subscribe there. And I would also love it if you would leave me a positive review. I am always looking to have more guests on my podcast and would absolutely love to chat with you about that if you are interested in talking with me about Michael Jackson. So please reach out on Instagram or Facebook under the It's All for Love podcast, or you can email me at mjitsallforlove@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening and watching It's All for Love. Hello and welcome to the It's All for Love podcast. I'm Cheryl, the Healing Dancer, your host. And today I have the amazing Andrea from Kentucky today. Andrea and I met over Facebook, like we do with most of our Michael Jackson friends all over the world. Andrea is a 44-year-old mom of a beautiful daughter, and she works in banking. She has an MJ fan account that she is so proud of, and Michael has helped her during one of the toughest times of her life. And she is all about carrying on his legacy, and that is the most important thing. Well, not the most, but a huge.
As far as Michael goes, it is.
Yes, as far as Michael goes, it's the most important thing is carrying on his legacy, which is exactly one of the reasons why you're here today, because that's what we're doing with this podcast as well,
Right.
is talking to the world about Michael and how he spreads love in our lives still to this day.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
welcome. Thank you for being
glad to be here.
So tell me your story. When did Michael strike you in the heart?
Well, it's my story's kind of different than any other fan story, I would say, because I was a fan from the time I was like 4. And I'm a child of the 70s, and Thriller was brand new when I was little. And my mom told me that I picked Thriller out off of the shelf at 4 years old and said I wanted it. We brought it home, and I was like addicted to it even at 4. And I was a Michael fan all the way up through right around, let's say, Lisa Marie time.
Okay.
My whole family wrote Michael off due to the controversy and the allegations.
Yeah.
And I was only, I was about 14 when all that went down. And, you just follow along with what your parents tell you to do. And, I sadly bought into the whole thing because they bought into it. And I put Michael on a shelf for a very long time.
Okay.
I didn't dislike him. And I will be completely honest with you, I never believed any of it. Even at 14, I never believed any of it. But my family so did. And in their defense, if you lived in America, it was really hard not to because it was everywhere.
Right.
But I just kind of was like, if I'd hear his music, I'd still bebop to it. If I saw something on TV, I'd be like, yeah, I still like him. But then in 2020, I got divorced. I'd been married for 10 years. It was an incredibly tough time. I mean, 2020 was hard for everybody, but for me, it was like extra tough. And I had told my mom about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months before my ex-husband and I officially broke up. I said, I think I'm bringing Michael Jackson back. She said, why? And I said, well, because I found some stuff out that we didn't know back then. I had just watched Square One. And I'm an empath. I'm a very, very sensitive person, and that it affected me for a long time, the way he was treated. And after I watched Square One, it changed everything. And I was like, I think I'm going to look a little more into this. I think I'm going to bring Michael Jackson back. And I just like dove in like head first, like went down the rabbit hole of everything. And I just got more and more attached to him, and I fell completely in love with him all over again, like I was 4 again. And it was a bigger deal to me now than it was then, because now I could see all the injustice, I guess is the best way to put it, that he was put through. And I started meeting fan friends when I opened up that fan account, and they trickled into my life, one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And now I have so many friends who are Michael fans, which is like the biggest blessing, because these have become like personal friends of mine, like people that I've become like really close to, just because we met because we were Michael fans. And he's affected my life in more. During the time that I was having such a rough time with my ex-husband, without getting too personal, right before we broke up, I would go to the corner of the living room late, late, late at night when everybody was asleep, and I would listen to Someone in the Dark, and it would seriously be like therapy for me, listening to that song. I have a really, really strong attachment to that song. And it's not one that a lot of people know, but that was the one that just like really got me during that rough time. So he's had a special place in my heart ever since. And I know now I'm not going anywhere. So that would be my story. There was a big break in between. And it's so funny because I'll go back and look at like like fans like Renee. I know everybody watching this, all of you know who Renee is. Okay. I'll go back and look at stuff she was doing when I was on a break. And I'm like, man, I wish I hadn't missed this. I wish I hadn't missed that. I wish I had, all this stuff. So I wish I hadn't had that big long break, but I'm back. So
Yeah. Well, Michael brings you back, he's,
yeah, for
and then
sure.
you knew as a child, you knew it in your gut and in your heart that,
Mhm.
that what was going on wasn't true. But yeah,
Yeah,
when we're, with our families and we're young like that, it's like really hard
it is
fight
hard.
for it and to fight for what we know,
Mhm.
you
Because
know.
I didn't have the knowledge that I have now back then. Back then
Right.
it was just
Yeah. It
no
did.
possible way that can be true.
Right. It didn't have all the research, like, all the
no.
stuff that you can go back, and now that podcast, what's it called? Um,
Oh,
and
the case for
the
instance.
case for innocence.
Oh
Yeah.
man, those
Yeah.
two, that mother daughter
Oh,
team, they're amazing. I've actually written letters with the two of them. That mom is one of a kind. I'm telling you.
right. Yeah.
I'm telling you,
Maybe I
she
can have them on the show sometime,
for real.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great podcast. It totally gives does all the research for you.
I
So
was gonna say
all you
she's
have to do is
not
listen.
emotionally invested, because the best person to talk to about the allegations is someone who's not a fan, as strange as that sounds. But it is, because they're completely emotionally uninvested. And I'm like, no, based strictly on the facts, there's no way it could be true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I adore the two of them for doing that. So
Yeah. Yeah, me
yeah.
too. But I love how he came back into your life, and just
Hmm.
like most of us fans, there's always some kind of story around healing, where it's whether it's music or videos or whatever, he was a natural healer,
Hmm.
whether he knew it or not. He was,
Hmm.
and I'm an empath too, so I totally,
Yeah. I
totally,
feel like I will feel things like somebody, like my mom. I started talking to my mom about it, and she watched Square One, and she watched Case for the Truth.
Mhm.
And she was like, yeah, I think you're right. I don't think he did it. And then she's like, she moved on with her life. And for me, it was like, no, but did you really watch it? Did you know?
Let's talk
Because I
about it.
cried.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like the biggest cheerleader. I would tell anybody, no, really, did you really pay attention to how they treated him?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm that person. So
Love it. Is there any other times or anything that you can think of where Michael has inspired you? in your life?
Oh, for sure. I think I became, and as strange as this is to admit, because we should all be this way by nature, but I think after reconnecting with Michael and his nature, I became more generous.
Mm.
Not that I wasn't generous before, because I was, but I was like, he amped it up to 100 because he made me feel like there's always something you could be doing, even if it's just time or love or attention. It doesn't always have to be money, but anything, if you can give someone of yourself to help in any kind of way. I became more caring, more generous, and more um, giving of myself just from following his example.
I
I
love
would
that.
say that definitely he brought that out in me.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Mhm.
a great example because he does that to a lot of us, you know.
I, I
That's,
know.
that's the love thing. It's like learning how to have more love and compassion for people and like giving of
Mhm.
yourself without expecting anything in return. That
For
was
sure.
like the epitome of who he was, who he
Mhm.
is. Do you have any what I like to call Michael Jackson synchronicities where he
Yeah,
just shows up in your life and you're like,
yeah, all the time. I swear. As a matter of fact, I didn't know if I really believed in synchronicities before reconnecting with Michael, but now I do.
mm,
Um, I will be having the worst day. Like something will have just let me down, or something will have just happened, or whatever. And I will walk into anywhere, and immediately, I swear to you, a Michael Jackson song will come on the radio. Like it never had. And people can just say, "Oh, that's well, he's so famous. He's top 40. He's going to be played everywhere." I'm like, no, not at that time, at that moment when I first walk in somewhere. And it always happens to me.
right.
Like,
Yes. Oh, I
as
got chills. Yeah.
it always happens to me. When I went to Gary, Indiana, I got out of my car and I was walking into the airport. I flew to Chicago and drove to Gary. And I got out of my car. It was early in the morning. It was like 6:30 in the morning, and I was walking to the airport in parking lot, and there was nobody. I guess it's just nobody flies at 6:30 in the morning at that airport on that day. There was just hardly anybody there, and I opened the door like to walk into the airport, and ABC started playing on the radio. I got to the gas station when I landed, got my rental car. I went to a gas station, and Beat It was playing on the radio. Like Michael Jackson music followed me through that entire trip. It was kind
Yeah.
of like I felt like he was happy that I was there because
Yes.
I loved it. I went. It was in 2021 that I went for the first time, and that was awesome being there.
Yeah.
The vibe of being there, like when you turn the corner and drive down the street, as soon as you drive down that street to come close to that house, there's an aura of around that house. Like
Yeah. Are you talking
really,
about Gary, Indiana? Like the house they grew up in? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
really. I mean, I felt a really, really strong connection to him being there. And 777 finds me everywhere.
Yes.
I'm tattooed, like for real, because I see it all the time. Ever since I found out that Michael loved it,
Mm-hmm.
now I see it all the time, and I put it on things, and I use it as passwords, and it follows me. That number follows me all over the place, and I'm like, I know it's because you know that I know that you loved it,
Yes.
you know.
Well, that's
And
just another sign that he's there, like
yeah,
I'm a very spiritual person, and
mm-hmm,
sometimes I'll ask my spirit team, my guides, like
mm-hmm,
for a sign, and one
mm-hmm.
sometimes I'll ask for a specific sign, and I'll say, show me 777 if this is the answer to whatever my question is or something. And then no, shit you not, sorry, but
That's
it's like the next day, or not even the next day, there it is, like on a license plate or something like
we'll
that.
have more about that kind of thing later off the
Yeah.
podcast and time, because
For
that's something that really does interest me, because I never really knew if I believed in it until this, but now I do. And I have told Michael fan friends, I'm like, totally believe he sees us.
Oh,
I
definitely.
totally
Yeah.
he knows about us and that he sees us, because yes, I was not a quote unquote, you know, big fan when he was alive, which I'm sad that I wasn't because of everything that went down. It wasn't really my fault, but it still makes me sad. But I think he knows now that I came all the way back around
Of
to
course.
where I should
He
have been.
he
So,
brought you back. Like it was him that just came back, was like, hello, I'm coming back in your life.
I call him my guardian angel.
Yeah.
And I've told people that, and depending on who you're talking to, some people look at you like, yay,
Well,
like
they
whatever.
just
But
don't get it. They
yeah,
don't.
the people who are Michael fans get what I mean when I say that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Really, he looks out for me. Like, I totally, totally believe it. So if
Yeah.
I have spirit guides, he's definitely one of them. There's
Oh,
no doubt.
yeah, he definitely is for many
Yeah.
of us. And I think on Facebook the other day, you had said that he's your soulmate. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, he is all of our soulmates. Like I can't even explain the connection. So like I'm an energy healer, right? So I know energy,
Mm-hmm.
and his energy is like, it's still here. I feel it. Like
Yeah.
I have goosebumps just talking about it. And
Yeah.
like you said, when you went to the house in Gary, Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
that his energy is there. And it's the same like when I went for the first time to Neverland to just
Mm-hmm.
be on that land.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go in, but like I wanted to
Yeah.
stay there. I wanted to friggin' camp there and like live there.
Yeah.
Like
It's
the
so bad.
energy.
Yeah. I've been to Havenhurst though.
Yeah, that too. Well, I
And
haven't been in it, but I know you went. Yeah.
it's all over that.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. And it's like you can't be in that house or around that area and not feel positive. It's
Yeah.
just like it was like a negative free zone as soon as you walk through the gate of that place. So
Yes.
he was something special, like really something special.
A child of God for sure.
Yeah. Hmm.
I mean, we all are, but he was definitely put on this earth for a
He
certain
had,
reason.
yeah, he had a specific mission, I think.
Definitely. And he's still
Hmm.
living
Hmm.
in spirit. So if you had to pick a favorite Michael Jackson song, I ask everybody this. If you had to
Hmm.
pick one,
Just one.
just one.
I always say two because I divided up between the best song he ever did and the best love song, but I can just pick one.
Okay.
Um, it's Earth Song.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't pick any song over that song because to me that song is Michael wrapped up in one composition. It was like the way he sings it, especially at the Brunei concert. Any Michael fan that was listening to this knows what I'm talking about when he ad libs in the end of that performance. Is the passion that he would feel when he would sing that song, like it comes all the way through. My daughter loves that song.
Yeah.
She loves it. Sometimes when she's like just in a certain way, like we drive country roads a lot to come home, and she'll just go, "Mommy, play our song."
Oh,
When she watched the video for the first time, she said to me, "So Michael knew that everything should go back looking new again, like it did in the end of that video, right?" Yeah, he knew.
yeah.
You know, I think it's his best work. I listened to this one guy who I follow on. He used to be on Instagram, and now he's on Twitch. And he breaks songs apart. Like he'll have you listen to like the solo of the vocals, the solo of the guitars, the drums, the backup singers, all that. He broke that song into little pieces and let us listen to it.
Wow.
I'm blown away by the chorus singing behind him when you just listen to them a cappella. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. And I know that I guess Michael's favorite song, I guess he said that he ever did was the name of it is Childhood. I think his favorite was Childhood, but I can't get past our song. It's just I I love songs when you hear someone sing it, you can tell that they put their whole heart into it when they're
Yeah.
singing it. And to me, that's what he did in that song. So
Yeah.
it's it's my favorite.
That song to me, I remember, I think I was in high school. Maybe it was, I don't remember high school or after, but I just remember like really being able, like as a dancer, to really be able to feel that song, like to feel every sound in it, not just the vocals, but like I still get chills when I listen to the song just because of the
Yeah,
way it's composed and all. Yeah,
it's
I can't
amazing.
explain it. Yeah.
I remember reading, I think it was a clip from the Earth Song book because somebody wrote a whole book about that song.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'll look
there's a
it
whole
up.
book written about that song. Um, I'm a moderator in the book club, so there's very few books that are out there that I don't know about. But every now and then one will pop up, and I'll be like, "Oh, I have to get that one." But there was a clip in that book where they talked about how he was watching raw footage of the short film, And you know that part when the dolphin gets stuck in the net and it's trapped and it can't. And they said he cut it and he said, I'm too bothered by this. I need the rest of the day. And they left.
Wow.
I was like, his heart was just
I
like something else. I was like, I mean, I just can't imagine. I mean, he watched that one little clip of the dolphin getting stuck in a net and he was so bothered by it that he was like, we're done for the day. I was like, oh,
wow.
love
Yeah.
him so much.
Wow. Oh, such
I
an
love
amazing being.
uh,
Do you have a
yeah.
favorite short film or video? Is it the same?
Um, well, the one I get the most joy watching is Bad.
Mhm.
And why? When I was a little girl, we bought our first like quote unquote big house because I grew up in a trailer. We moved out of the trailer when I was 5.
Okay.
And then we got a pretty nice house in a development in the town that I grew up in. And my dad was so psyched to have MTV. Okay, MTV, the new thing. And I was about 7 years old ish when Bad came out.
Mhm.
And man, I remember over and over and over again, I'd watch that and I'd be like, he's the coolest person on the planet. And I like have such good memories of watching that short film from the beginning to the end,
Yeah.
not just like the dance part, like all of it. And I'd be like, just the coolest dude that ever lived. That's what I thought of him at 7. You know, I was just a little girl, so I thought he was just the coolest person on the planet. And I was like, Michael Jackson, he's like, he rocks. So I have like such good memories of watching that one that I go back and watch it now and it still makes me just as happy as it did back then. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the Earth Song short film with how powerful it is. It is, it'll bring you to tears. But I get so much joy watching Bad. I love it. And
Yeah.
my daughter watched it when she was 5 for the first time, 5 or 6. And I kid you not, I said to her like 2 days later, I said she couldn't do something or she couldn't eat something. And she turned and looked at me and she said, back off me, man. And I like, you remember that line from the, I lost it. So funny. I was like, are you trying to be Michael? She said, yep, back off me, man. It was so funny. But I would have to say Bad because I love it so much. It makes me happy.
Yeah. That's great. No, when I was little, I had a cassette tape of Bad. Like,
Yes, my
yeah.
cousins had the cassette because they were older than me.
And remember those stickers like around Valentine's Day? It was like the big red heart stickers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because I think you and I are the same age. So I
Mhm.
remember like when I was 7 and I first had the cassette tape with the big red heart. I put a red heart on it. And then I had the Bad poster right next to my bed and I would kiss it every night before I went to bed. And my infamous picture that like I've posted on social media a lot, I usually do it like whenever it's a Michael Jackson birthday or something. And it's me, like, you remember this? Did you ever have a store called Sam Goody?
Yes, with the
Yeah.
cardboard.
Your cardboard cutout, yeah, of him in the Bad outfit. And it's like me, my little 7-year-old self with my hand on his heart. Like, I was like, I already knew then that I loved him so much.
That's so adorable.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. And it's so funny. I never went through that stage of being a Michael fan until I was this age, like until 4 years ago now. That was when I completely like would say I fell head over heels in love with the man. When I was a kid, I just thought he was the coolest person ever. Like
Yeah.
I was just, he's just cool. Like he just reeks like I'm the baddest dancer, I'm the best singer, I'm the best songwriter, I'm the best everything. I never thought of him like that until I got this age. And then, you know, when I came back to being a fan, I was like, wait a minute, he's really hot. And I never noticed it before. Wait a minute, he's really like sweet and
Mhm.
lovely and so smart and knowledgeable and
Right.
everything. Like a couple of my fan friends, we have like Michael calls all the time because they live in London and Spain and all over. And we've asked each other, what would your dream date be if you could go on a date with Michael? And I kid you not, this is my answer, and I really mean it. I would go to Neverland. I would sit in the library with him, and I would just listen to him tell me about everything.
Right.
I would just say, talk to me about whatever you want to talk about. Just talk.
I
I'll
just want to hear you talk.
want to listen to your voice because I love it so much. It's like velvet. And
Yeah.
I know you know about everything. I just want to listen to you talk. Can you talk to me for however long you got? I'll just sit here and listen.
Yeah.
And they're looking at me like you crazy. I'm like, hey, I'm just being real. I love the man. I could just sit and listen to him speak
Right.
for hours.
And you
And
would
I
learn something. So
think I think you do it. So
I love that. I now have to think about what my date would be like. I'll let you know when I figure that out.
I mean, I'd probably want to eat first, but then I'd be like, okay, let's go to the library. And I know you have 10,000 books in there and you can just tell me about whatever.
Right. Yeah, just pick one and tell me something about it. I love that. I love it. How does Michael continue to spread love in your world? Anything come to mind?
um, I would say he honestly affects me as a person, like how I am now as a person. I'm not the same as I was years before I came back to being a fan because I was raised in the Christian church. So I used to be very conservative and I was brought up that way. And it's sometimes it's hard to, like question or get out of what
Mhm.
you're step into.
Yeah.
But he's changed my whole perspective on life. Like I like you were talking about energy and, you know, life after death and spirits and things like that. He's changed my whole perspective on that part of life. He's made me I've always been an empathetic person, but I didn't know it until how much I am like that until now.
Hmm.
Um, I would say he's made me more of the authentic Andrea than I've ever been. I've never felt authentically in my skin like I do now. There's still things about myself I'd like to improve, but I feel more like the real me
Mm.
than I ever have. And it's largely thanks to Michael, because he changed my perspective on so many things. And, I thought I was a good person before, but now I feel like I'm like somebody. I'm not making this up and I'm not trying to brag on myself. It really shocks me, but somebody that I know called me an earth angel the other night. And I was like, well, I don't know what that is. I'll have to look it up. They were like, look it up because I think you are one. I was like, okay. But I just feel more like me than
Yeah.
I ever have before. And he continues to push me to be better, you know, to go for what really brings me bliss,
Mm.
and to be good to other people. Because I truly, truly do believe now that we're all connected. I
Yes.
never really thought about that before, but after knowing him and loving him and seeing how he was and how he affected so many people who have an open mind and are willing to know the real him, I
Mhm.
truly do think that we're all connected and it affects how you live if you believe that.
Yes.
So,
I love that answer.
yeah,
Yeah.
he made me authentically me.
Yeah. And you just made me realize that that is one of the reasons that I love him so much too, because
Mm-hmm,
like part of my purpose and what I want to help people with is to become their authentic self.
mm-hmm.
Because
I
that's
think
what I've
do it.
worked on.
I think he did too.
Yeah. And that
Yeah.
he was actually like a huge advocate for it. I mean, there's quotes out there and I've heard him like talk about it before, like about just be yourself, just
Mm-hmm.
be yourself and love yourself type of thing. And that's like where
Or,
I definitely got it from because
mm-hmm.
he was his authentic self all the time,
Right.
no matter who liked him and who didn't like him. So
So many people who are huge advocates for him, not just fans, but like we call them supporters in my little fan circle. But like if you you don't just love Michael's music and you don't just not just a fan of him as like an entertainer, but you're a fan of him as a person and you will go hours into a conversation with somebody trying to convince them of his innocence, is that we're abuse survivors.
mhm.
And if you are an abuse survivor, you can't tolerate someone being accused of such a horrible thing when you know that they're innocent. And
Right.
it's like, I take it harder than the regular person would because I've been there. And it's
Hmm.
like, I can't let you walk away without listening to me. If you choose not to believe me, fine. I can't make you believe. But if you have an open mind, let's talk. Like I've had actual conversations with strangers on Facebook about
Yeah.
Michael for a long time. Like if they're open to listen to me,
Yeah.
and it's changed people. I've been able to change some people's opinions And I'm like, just go and watch it and come back and tell me. And these are strangers, and they'll come back and message me on Facebook. You know what? You're right. There's this and this and this and this that I didn't know. I'm like, can you tell your friends, please?
Right. Spread the word.
Yeah. So it's like I can't handle him being accused unless if the person is willing to listen to me, because I take it so personally, because it's like, no, I've been a victim.
Yeah.
He's not a perpetrator. I'm telling you, I can just, you just know, you know.
Yeah.
And we're not blind supporters. Like, we've done all the hard work. And it's like, I heard a girl say on the Innocence podcast one time, the actual one that's on YouTube, she said he would take my pain. She met him several times, and she said he would take my pain and put it on himself, so I didn't have to carry it anymore. Because he would talk to her about her life, and I was like, that's the kind of person that he did that for me, and he never even met me.
Right. There's the healer in him again too.
Yeah.
He takes people's pain and he transmutes it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that's what he does.
Right.
He's always done, whether we
mm-hmm.
realize that or not, you know, just by
Exactly.
listening. His music is at a frequency where it's like, just listening to certain songs, you're like, okay, I feel better now. Like,
Right. Yeah.
Day, and you go and you listen to Michael and you're like, okay, I'm feeling better now.
You
I'm not
get
feeling like crap.
you, and it's like, I wasn't in a bad mood. But I'm fine now, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of music does that, but you know, Michael,
His is special.
there's something about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, last question here. What do you want the world to know about Michael Jackson?
That Michael cared more about our human race and us thriving and loving each other than he even cared about his own self, because he gave of himself over and over and over again, and he will always continue to do that with everything that he left behind, and not just the music, but the gestures that he did, the humanitarian that he was. That to me, like, I will share photos and reels and clips on my Instagram account of him with children, and I'm like, that's the real Michael. It's like, he cared so much about us as a human race loving each other, that to me is what he will always continue to do and continue to be for people who really see him. Because some people just, the darkness hates the light, and he was the light, and some people are just in the darkness and they can't see him for who he really was. But I think I do, and I think all of us who are real fans see him for who he really was, and he will always continue to be a light. And that if you really take the time to get to know the real Michael, you won't be sorry. So I would want the world to know that it's worth looking into. You might not become a devoted, diehard supporter and lover like I am, but
You might.
you might not have a picture on the wall like I do, but
you never.
You might walk away knowing something about him that you didn't know, and your life could be somewhat enriched by it for an hour, So I would say, like I just said, like I say all the time about him, the darkness hates the light. And the reason why some people don't love him is because they don't know the real him. Get to know the real him. You won't be sorry.
Amen.
So.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Maybe we'll do another podcast. Another episode where we can talk more of the spiritual side of stuff. We'll chat.
Yeah, that's great, because I have so many questions.
Yeah, we'll definitely chat about that.
All of that. Yeah, that was awesome. I would be all down for that.
Yes, me too. All right, Andrea. Well, thank you so much for talking with me about our favorite person.
Yes, thank you for having me.
It's all for love. We love you all. See you soon.
Okay.